Good evening. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Eye Test. I'm your host, Mark Coles, and I'm with a few good men. I'm with Shawn, and I'm with uh, Rickey Scott. How you doing, fellas?
See, that's just deliberate, dog. you had to think so hard on that shit. You're like, damn, am I supposed to? No, oh, wait a minute. What's Ricky last name? I want to make sure that I slight Shawn. You know what I'm saying? It's cool, man. It's cool, but continue.
Hey, man, you know what I'm saying? That it is what
It's
it
getting
is.
harder for you to keep up with this shit, Mark. Look
No,
at you, man. Now
it
you're
is
going
what
out
it
of your
is
way
in life.
now.
It's
You're
a
going out of your way now. You know
no.
what I
I,
mean?
I, I was I was trying to be respectful, but it's cool.
No, you wasn't.
It's cool.
But that's fine. That's fine.
Any anyway,
I
man.
don't expect anything better from you, so
That's nice. That's
yeah.
nice. Anyway, man. Um. So, Shawn, how you doing, man? We'll start
Man,
with
I'm
you.
I'm good. It's been a busy day for me today. I know I've been a bit unreachable, but I'm talking job offers, possibly moving, selling a house, all kind of things I got in the pipeline that I'm working on. So yeah, been a very productive day so far for me. So
Word, I feel you. Uh,
yep.
and this dude is grabbing his ankle, and I'm sorry. I just witnessed Chris Paul going down, and
He's
he's
flopping.
yeah, because he's now picking himself up. So typical Chris Paul shit. Um,
Oh no, he did. He landed on his toe. He rolled that motherfucker.
ooh,
Shut your bitch ass up.
Yeah,
It's the finals.
he was underneath that motherfucker.
but
He
it wasn't.
definitely.
But it wasn't that deep. Like, dog, it's not that deep. Like it was scary. It was more scary than it hurt. Like, come on, dog, get up.
You can say that, motherfucker. Kawhi missed the whole end of the fucking playoffs for some shit like this.
He'll
Okay.
be all right. He got State Farm and right on time.
It was
He's
a
on the
little
Kawhi.
wobble. It was a little wobble. Hey, his ankle didn't even touch the floor. You might be right on that one.
Yeah, like come on, dog. But
You know,
anyway,
I
back to the story at hand. Rickey Scott, sir, how are you? We talking to the man of many hats, many podcast hats today. You know what I'm saying? The podcast master. So, Ricky,
That's a new one.
now's the time to talk your shit, man. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing great. What shit am I supposed to be talking? Because I talk so much shit I can't
Yeah.
keep up with
So
all of
like,
it.
no, I mean, you got so much going on out in the world. Tell the world
hey,
about yourself.
do
Promote
some
yourself.
promo right now. Do some
Promote.
promo right now,
All
man.
right. So I got to wait till you hear this podcast where I get together with the homie Darius and Dame. Dame's been on the show before, so your audience is probably aware of him.
Mm-hmm.
I think Darius has popped up sometime during like football live cast, so they may have
Yes,
seen him
live.
there.
He was there on
Yes.
the live stream twice.
Yes.
We pretty much cover all things hip hop and social justice time with Dame on parts because I suck at social justice with that stuff. But my boy Dame holds it down for that end. He's for the people always. Also do a solo podcast now where I rant about my personal life for 10 minutes every morning. That's a very interesting one. I've learned a lot about myself on there. I have another anime podcast I'm a part of where we do Twitch. We do the podcast, and we've been reading anime off. Actually, my homeboy Raymay is doing that as we speak. He's reading Jujutsu Kaisen live on Twitch. That's the Bar Hat podcast. I'm a guest on this one. So I guess I'm a sports analyst now, kind of, or analyst somehow, which is fucking weird. And am I doing anything else? I'm going to be working on the future endeavor with you guys with fantasy football, but I'm not allowed to speak about that just yet. I don't think we're still working
not
things
yet,
out.
not yet,
But
not
stay
yet.
tuned.
Yeah, but it's coming. But that is coming. So, yes. See, like I said, the man of many hats is out here. You know, he I don't know how he does it, but he gets it done. But anyway, we're going to get right into this because I'm pretty sure this man, like, this was one of his days off, and now he don't got a day off from podcasting. So we're going to get into this. All right. So anyway, I guess the best place to start would be seeing how the Suns are playing right now and they're in the finals. The best place to start would be with a Suns player, Chris Paul. This is a thought that I had to myself recently because Chris Paul, by and large, has been the same player for a very long time. Like there hasn't been like any elevation to his game or anything that has changed about his game. And
he's gotten better. He's gotten more consistent at
well,
hitting 3-pointers.
okay.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I give him. Yeah.
But like by and large, his game has been his game for a very long time, and he's been on teams with what you would consider superstars. And if you don't consider them superstars, you can't deny that they were all stars. And so, I guess my question is, what's the difference now? Why now was this team able to make it to the finals where every other team he's ever been on has failed? And
I'll let Ricky go, man. I'll let Ricky go first. I don't want to steal nobody's talking points.
Well, this is going to be the elephant in the room, but injuries. I don't want to discredit the man's capabilities and his play style, but injuries helped them get to where they are. And I can say that as a Golden State Warriors fan. In 2015, you know how we got to the finals? Injuries. Do you know how we won a championship? More injuries. And you know what the Suns are doing? Capitalizing off the injuries. So that's how they got there. Because usually Chris Paul, unfortunately, is the one on the opposite side. Where his team goes through injury after injury after injury. Doc Rivers after injury. Doc Rivers after injury.
Hey, shout out to Doc Rivers, keeping the trend alive.
Oh,
but go ahead.
So, because I was going to point out that there's quite a few Clippers years where the injuries weren't the issue.
Like which?
Well, I'm talking about. Well, there was like 2 years where Chris Paul was healthy for the playoffs, right?
One of those years, Blake was coming off of injury. Blake missed most of the season, if I'm not mistaken. Am I correct, Ricky?
Yeah,
Blake was not 100% in the playoffs that year. Yep.
They had issues with that. They had social justice issues where their owner came out and was like, inward this, inward that, and that caused like a circus, and the team couldn't get their mental together.
They almost boycotted the playoffs. They were not going to show up for a game in the playoffs. People forget about that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Their former
owner. Yeah. But like I said, the reason why I bring up the Blake Griffin injury is because that was specifically one of those years where people were mad at Blake Griffin because he was playing on the perimeter. He was shooting jumpers and doing all this stuff, and he would not go to the post. But I'm like, he's hurt. I don't know what y'all want from him. Y'all want him to bang, but he's hurt. Like, no, man. Like, so it's definitely affected their game plan and the way they wanted to play and strategize. But I mean, that still goes without saying that Doc Rivers does not manage his teams very well in game.
And there was a single Houston year where he was available, but they fell apart. So
no. He got injured in that as well.
He did.
But he kept coming back, and at least in my opinion, them falling apart it wasn't because Chris Paul wasn't able to give an adequate amount. Like it was, I feel like there was other issues.
But I still feel like that's asking a lot of him because of him having an injury. And if I'm not mistaken, that year it was an injury to his legs, foot, something.
No.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's only so much. Like, or was that the year he fucked up his hand? I don't know. He's always got some type of injury that directly affects his ability to play.
Right.
Score. Move or score. He always does, man.
In that particular year, his last year in Houston in particular, it had, in my opinion, them falling apart had more to do with personalities than anything.
You know what? You are correct. That last year he played, there wasn't an injury. Dan Antonio's system failed him because he wanted them to completely play ISO ball. And he came out and Dan Antonio took the blame for that because he said, yeah, I have the two best ISO players in the league right now. excluding Kyrie Irving, and this shit didn't work out when we went against the Warriors. Not this time around. So yeah, you're right about that. I forgot about that last year.
Okay, yeah.
Right. Okay, and so Shawn, you're
This is what I'll say. It's a myriad of things, man. If you look at Chris Paul's coaches throughout the years, Doc Rivers has been the best coach that he's had. And Doc Rivers, it's not the best coach in the playoffs that he's had. So then but if you look throughout the history of his career, he hasn't had great coaches. You know what I mean? So right now, the job that Monty Williams is doing, I believe, is the best coaching that Chris Paul has had. It's the best coach team from top to bottom that Chris Paul has had. With that, because I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of D'Antoni. D'Antoni is good for the regular season. He's not good for the playoffs. But that's one thing. Injuries is another thing. This year, let's not forget that he got hurt, and we weren't sure if he was coming back. You know what I'm saying? They very well could have lost to the Lakers in the first round. I think the Lakers could have at least pushed it to 7 games in the first round if Chris Paul was completely not there. So with that said, injuries to other teams, the coaching this year I personally think it's the best coaching, that he's had. Like I said, when I was talking about best coaching before Doc Rivers, I'm talking about before this year. That's the best coach he's had. So with that said, he's got Monty Williams right now, and Monty Williams has been from top to bottom. What I'm saying, he's getting the most out of the bench players. He's getting the most out of the starters. He has not been afraid to go against the status quo when it comes to feeding DeAndre Ayton and not making DeAndre Ayton a perimeter player. I watched him in college. Arizona had him play inside and outside. He would post up at the 3-point line for high screens, pick and rolls, pick and pops, and he would take his little 3-point shots at he did that in college. You know what I'm saying? Like, they could have very well saw that and said, you know what we're gonna do with you is we're gonna make you improve your shooting. They did it. If they're willing to do that with somebody like Brook Lopez, trust me, they would do that shit with DeAndre Ayton. So you got to give credit to Monty Williams for coming up with a solid game plan to make his team a well-rounded team. This is, to me personally, this is the most well-rounded team I've seen since some of the Spurs teams that you've seen win championships. They play defense. There's ball movement. Everybody contributes. Bench players as well. He can play inside and outside. If they need to run a break, they can, and they still have a superstar that can score. I don't know what else you want from a coach, but Monty Williams is giving you everything you need here. And I feel like Chris Paul walked into a situation where I'm not going to say it was ready-made, but I feel like it was a young team that had great coaching, where the coach finally, I believe, came around and came into his own at the right time. You have the young players coming into their own at the right time. If you look at the bubble situation last year, and then you throw veteran leadership into that situation with a point guard like Chris Paul, and then you have what you have now. Add the injuries to everybody else that they're playing, and it's like a recipe for success, man. The moon and the stars align for Chris Paul on this one. And when you look at every other year he's had, everything went against him.
Right.
So,
right. That's a fair summation. I do want to point out that right now it's the third quarter. Score is 62-74. The Suns seem to be heating up in what they're getting in opportunities. Excuse me, I had to belch. But I guess one of my questions to you guys is, because you brought up the Suns being young. Do you think that one of the issues that held Chris Paul led teams back in the past is player ego, or egos amongst the other teams as far because these guys being young, and you spoke of Monty Williams being able to get the most out of these guys because like he's taking them out of their comfort zones and stuff like that. Do you think that their lack of ego and their willingness to be able to be molded or to like to change is also what is helping in this situation?
Do you want to go first, Ricky, or is
I
that
think
that pose for me?
For me, it's more so Chris Paul's ego has gotten placed in check versus the rest of the teammates. If people recall, I think it was Big Baby Davis who came out and said one of the hugest issues on the Clippers, and other Clippers agreed with this sentiment, was that Chris Paul was just too controlling on the team. A lot of times, if you weren't making the shots when he wanted you to make the shots, he would stop passing you the ball and he would start taking it upon himself to play hero ball, or he tried to play through someone else and not take the coach's the coach's ideas for you to run the offense. So I'm seeing this year, since he got humbled and got sent to Oklahoma, where he wasn't the number one dude there, he kind of had to play behind Shea and Dennis Schroeder. They had that 3-man team. He's taking the back seat and he kind of lets Booker take over a game. He'll let Booker do what he needs to do because Booker is the franchise. Chris Paul is the help there. So I think in this case, he was able to deal with that because when he went to the Houston Rockets, we saw him and Harden play together, but he knew it was Harden's team, but he wasn't really ready to let go of that superstar role. There were times you could see where he would just look at Harden, was like, I'm not giving you the ball. We're going to run this half-court set. And Harden would be like, all right, bet. And Harden would stand off, would look, let him run his offense. And then when it didn't work, Harden would be like, okay, are you going to give me the ball now so we can do what I need to do? You would see those type of things. So I think it's more so of Chris Paul getting his ego in check this time around versus in the past. He had to run everything because he was a control freak. Like I said, Big Baby Davis pointed it out, and everybody on the Clippers was pretty much like, yeah, that's a huge thing. Unlike when he played with, who was it, Rondo? He said Rondo didn't give a fuck. Rondo would be like, here's the ball, take the shot, keep shooting. Don't stop shooting, keep shooting. If you miss it, that's why you're a shooter. Take the shot. Where Chris Paul would be like, nah, bro. You missed 2 shots, that's too much. You're fucking with my assist. Here, you big man, we're going to pick and roll. You're going to go and just take this easy dunk, Lob City, here you go. So
Okay.
I think it's more just him maturing.
I would say it's a combination of a lot of things, because when you talk about him playing with Devin Booker right now, he ain't never had a player like that before on his team. He never had a player outside of himself that could go get a bucket by themselves, except for James Harden. And then if you go before that, you have to go to David West when he was playing with the New Orleans Hornets. And
Jamal Crawford.
Yes, but not a guy that could go get you 50. You know what I'm saying? Like that. Like anybody will take a back seat to Devin Booker. It's easy for a natural point guard, pass first point guard to say, look, Devin Booker, because Devin Booker doesn't need to dribble the ball 50 times to get his shot off. You could just give it to him, he'll take the shot. Like I look at Devin Booker as the type of player that's easy to play with, like KD. He doesn't demand a lot of ball time. He's still going to get you the buckets. So what I'm saying is he hasn't been with somebody like, even when he played with David West, he's a guy who would play in a post at that time in his career. He'd play in a post and he'd still knock down a mid-range, but you would have to give it to him. Chris Paul, but I also do believe that there is ego in there, in the things that you're saying about him not passing and not trusting of the teammates outside of certain players. It's very true. When he played with David West, that's the only person he trusted. I've seen games where they play in the playoffs and he has 35 and David West has 30. David West goes for like 30 and 15 and they lose because they're not involving nobody else. When playoff time, when the time mattered, if he didn't trust you, he was not fucking with you. That is very true. You've seen what he did to Blake Griffin in some of the later years with the Clippers. He was not fucking with him. So I do feel like there's an ego in there. I feel like there's also a situation where he's never had a easy to work with, like pure shooter like that before. If you're just talking about shooters, he never had a shooter. You know what I'm saying? So now, I mean, even if you talk about the James Harden situation, James Harden, he requires a lot of ball time. And if you're telling me that I'm the point guard, you can say it's being a control freak, But your job as the point guard is to be in control. It's like saying the QB has the ball too long. You're supposed to be in control. The problem is James Harden is the type of person that requires the ball a lot. Chris Paul requires the ball a lot. I don't even think it has anything to do with anything except for the fact that you had two people that demand the ball a lot, and it was never going to work unless somebody has to take a back seat. You know what I mean? And I wouldn't expect Chris Paul to take a back seat, and I wouldn't expect Harden to take a back seat. Neither one of them should take a back seat. Therefore, this shit should have never happened in the first place. But now it's he doesn't have anybody. The other superstar doesn't demand the ball. He doesn't demand any ball time. So yes, I feel like this is working. I mean, egos aside, it's a matter of him being a point guard, which means he requires the ball, and him being in a team where he can rely on somebody to get buckets without demanding the ball. That's what I think the biggest thing is.
Okay. That's very fair. I'm going to say this. You guys convinced me on both of your points. So, and just to sum up your point, Ricky, saying that it does have to do with ego, but it's not ego of the teammates. It's ego of Chris Paul. Chris Paul has lowered his ego, and Shawn, you are saying that he's never had a player that's just ready to shoot at any time before. And with the combination of everybody else as well. And so, and that's fair. I will say this though, the way that things ended up playing out in Houston and that last year was just really nasty. Like it didn't look good. it didn't look good for either Chris or James in that playoff series, just on a personal level of being human beings. Neither one of them came out looking like the greatest of teammates for anybody. So
and like I said, I just want to be clear. Like I 100% agree with Ricky's assessment of the ego thing, because like I said, the first time I seen him rely on other players that were considered to be lesser by a large amount was when he played in OKC. But he was forced to.
Yeah, and I get that. Yeah. So, and you also made a really good point about Paul shouldn't have to lower himself for anyone. You don't expect James Harden to lower himself for anyone either. So, and that, I mean, and given their status, that makes sense. It's just like the way it played out. It just looked awful.
You mind if I play a little devil's advocate here?
Go for it.
So why would you say you don't have to lower yourself for a lesser player to make your team better, but when Russell Westbrook does that exact thing to make the team better, everyone complains? Now that we have a superstar that is pretty much being selfish, nobody wants to say, hey, stop fucking being selfish and make your team better.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, and to speak on that real quick, I'm going to clarify my statement, because they should put their egos aside. Somebody should be willing to step down. I don't expect it. My statement was, I don't expect it. You know what I'm saying? I don't expect everybody to be LeBron going to Miami. I don't expect everybody to be D Wade in the second year of Miami, giving LeBron the keys to the franchise. I don't expect everybody to be as passive as KD. You know what I mean? To be like, yo, hey, I'm just here, bro. I might be the best scorer in the league, but I'm just here, bro. Hey, this y'all team. Tell me what y'all want me to do. Y'all want me to be the number one scorer on the Warriors? Cool, man. I'll come and do that. Like, I don't expect everybody that plays to that level to be as humble as some of these players. Right. And I just named 3. I don't know if I can name any more than that.
And honestly,
you know what I mean? They're the anomalies. That's what I'm saying. So they're not the status quo.
And honestly, Ricky, like that is one of the reasons why I am a Russ fan, is because Russ is like, all right, man, whatever. Like, if that's what you need me to do, I don't necessarily work here, but that's what I'm going to have to do. Like, we going to try to win this way, then that's fine. Like, that's one of the reasons why I'm a Russ fan, is because like he gets that bad rap of it's me, when everything has been shown that it's not him. Like he's just trying to fit in where he gets in for the most part.
So what you guys are telling me is pretty much Chris Paul couldn't get his ego in check to let James Harden be that Devin Booker on the team.
I think both of them couldn't get their egos in check.
I think it was both of them. Like
he didn't want Chris Paul to run the offense either.
Like because Ricky, you're trying to give James a pass, and
no, it's both of their egos. It's both of their egos.
I'm not giving James a pass because I keep telling everybody, and I've given article after article. Dan Antoni's system went from everybody touches the ball to we're playing ISO ball. That was Dan Antoni's system. That's coaching. A lot of people don't want to point out the times when it's like, it's not the players, it's the coaching and the system. That you got to witness coaching being a bad system with both of your coaches from last. Well, I'm sorry, Philadelphia's, because you're not a 76ers fan. You just happen to watch every game, but
you just happen to watch every game and live there. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. But you're not a fan. You watch a lot. But your first coach, he didn't set the culture, and then your second coach just happened to be the problem that Chris Paul may or may not have had before, why the team couldn't get success. But
okay, he absolutely is just in the right spot, right time, right coach, right team, right amount of youth. Because with OKC, it was the wrong amount of youth. It was too much youth.
Okay.
And it was the wrong coach.
In OKC, that team was just not built for.
But he still made it to playoffs, almost knocked off the Rockets.
Yeah, had it not been for Russ coming back on one leg and helping will the team to a victory.
Yeah, that shit not making the final take. Go ahead.
Quick fun fact about that OKC team that is Chris Paul was on. Almost all the role players on that team all made it to the playoffs this year and got very, very deep. Gallinari, all those other people. So you can't really say it was just OKC. That's just going to come back to more of the biggest thing that everybody keeps ignoring: coaching.
Fair.
They didn't have a coach.
I mentioned that. That's what I'm saying. Like coaching. So yeah, coaching gets overlooked a lot, and that's just what it is today. And everybody wants to focus on the superstars and shit. But everybody's seen what it looks like when a superstar don't have a coach.
Well, but we've talked about that. We've talked about that before. Now, you said the coaching thing, which brings up an interesting thing that I don't know if this will make the final take, but we're going to talk about it now just to hear your thoughts on it, because Shaq and Phil Jackson would tend to disagree with you. Shaq has said that a coach doesn't necessarily matter. I've heard him say this several times now.
Shaq is also the same person who don't believe in practice.
Yeah, no,
but then fell off the fucking face of the planet. You know what? Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. No, but I've heard him say this several times now, that coaching doesn't necessarily matter, and I've heard similar sentiments from Phil Jackson now, which is very interesting. Now, seeing how Phil Jackson was his coach for a lengthy period of time, like I could see a correlation there, because it seems to be a correlation between Phil Jackson's coaching style, where he kind of let the players do their own thing. And of course you let your players do their own thing when you have 8 superstars on one team. Like, you just like, all right, man, you guys can kind of figure it out, but here's my offense. Go ahead and run it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but clearly that wouldn't work anywhere else. I just wanted to hear what's your thoughts on the fact that Shaq says coaching doesn't necessarily matter.
Go first, Ricky. Go ahead, man. Unless you want me to go first.
I'm gonna disagree with that big time because since we're talking about the Suns, Shawn, you're familiar with the Suns rosters. The Suns have always had amazing, great talent. You know what the
Young
problem
talent
was?
everywhere. Yeah.
They had no identity. They had no direction. They were just young people out there running and gunning and shooting the ball. So they didn't know what to do when they came against those superstars, what you needed to do to stop them, how you need to approach some of them, or even how to read the scouting report. So obviously coaching means something. I get where you need a combination of both skilled players and coaching to put it all together so you can have a championship team. But just to say like, oh, okay, you just need talent, you can go out there and do it. Cool, Shaq. How many rings did you win without that coaching?
Yeah, you know what? Just to take a stab at your coach, you know what I'm saying? Look at Kelly Oubre. But never mind. Forget about. But
you,
but that.
You know what? You know what? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I have to stop. Shaq and Phil Jackson are correct. Look at the Raptors. They had that great coach, Nick Nurse, and they couldn't even make the fucking playoffs this year. But Nick Nurse has won on every level being this amazing coach. Oh, wait, okay. The Canadians didn't even make the Olympics with that great coach. God damn it, Phil Jackson.
Ricky,
you're right.
So here's what I'm gonna tell you. See, the truth is somewhere in between because this is the way it works with coaching. Sometimes there's a right coach for the right team. They might not necessarily be like the greatest coaches to me are the ones that can take whatever team you got and make something happen with them. Like nobody's ever going to look at Thibodeau as being one of the greatest coaches of all time. In my book, he might end his career there, but the general public isn't because they're going to base everything off of championships. But Tibbs has taken whatever roster the fucking team has and has done something with it, right? Now, but you got guys like Phil Jackson, and this is the reason why people have a kind of a polarizing view on Phil Jackson, because some people feel like, yo, Phil Jackson, they say he's the greatest coach of all time. Like, look at the teams he had, right? But I feel like Phil Jackson is just, if you're talking about a star-studded team that has below average role players on it, there's no better coach in the world than Phil Jackson. He's the right coach for a certain type of team. So coaching to me is really subjective. It really depends on the situation and what you have going on. So there's certain coaches that do well with young players and they're horrible with vets. There's some coaches that are great with vets and they're horrible with young players. A la Stan Van Gundy. He is not good with young players. You know what I'm saying? So with that said, like really coaching, you could be a great coach in certain situations. I feel like Nick Nurse is clearly one of these coaches that I don't know if I would even call him great, but I would say he's good with but he has to have a specific type of setup for his team. And that's what we've all found out now. I feel like if you get him back that same particular type of setup, he'll be able to make it work. He has to have all the tools in the toolbox though. So yes, on a scale of just greatness, I don't think he's that great. But do I think he can win another chip or at least get to one if you give him the right setup? Yeah, I do.
No, you don't.
I do. It is what it is.
No,
it is. I think if you give Phil Jackson a team that doesn't have two all-time greats on it, I don't think he can coach that team to a championship. But what does that say, though? I don't think Phil Jackson can coach a team to a championship that doesn't have two all-time greats on it.
I can't argue that because we haven't seen it because he hasn't had to go without it. That's fair.
People talk about how intelligent he is in him being a Zen master and all this other bullshit. Why do you think it is that he's never coached any other type of team? He literally retired from the bullshit situation, said, I will not he was like, I am not coming back. He said he would never coach again. Motherfucking Shaq, once the Lakers got Shaq and Kobe at the same time, that was the only thing that made him come back.
That's false.
Phil Jackson is not a fucking idiot.
There was some vagina that was part of that deal that no one wants to talk about. Why
he was in that vagina before he came back, though. That's what I'm saying. Like what I'm saying.
Pillow talk. That pillow talk got him back.
What I'm saying is, dog, if pillow talk don't mean nothing if you got fucking Smush Parker and Radmanovich as your fucking main players. When you got Kobe and Shaq, the pillow talk matters.
Well, recently, in the Eastern and Western Conference Finals, well, mostly affected, Eastern and Western Conference Finals, we have seen players go out with what seemingly seem to be injuries that you could return from, and we've seen them go out and stay out for an extended period of time. Last week, Shawn and I touched on like the injuries, like Trae Young having a bone bruise, and Giannis hyperextending his knee and missing lengthy period of time, even though there's no structural damage to either of them. At least that's what the reports say. And so, and it brought up, in speaking to Rickey about this, it brought up a question of is this a direction that the league is going in, and as far as, are they putting the business of the sport ahead of playing the game because they don't want to further the injury of these players, or to possibly be missing these players for the next season or whatever, so they are holding them back from playing when they are available to play.
Okay, and I want you to be very clear, Marcus. You said the league. When you say the league,
I mean,
holding them back.
Their teams. They're particular teams, not the NBA. It's not.
So you think that? So you're saying the teams are the? You're asking, are the teams in cahoots with the team doctors?
Yes.
In an attempt to preserve the player's health.
Yes.
So I'll go first on this one. Personally, I think there is an effort to a certain extent. I don't feel like everybody's situation is that, but I do feel like
I understand that when having these conversations, there will always be outliers or things, or like it's not one size fits all. But
I know.
But we're seeing
like, is it becoming a trend?
Yes.
Like, if you ask me that question, I feel like it is becoming a trend, because I feel like in the past the players were more in control of that situation. When you seen Tim Duncan get hurt and then he misses 15 games from it, I feel like it was more of a personal decision than a team decision or a coach's decision.
Right.
Nowadays, you are seeing players come out and speak about it, like Kawhi saying he doesn't understand why. It has to me, it's a big deal if Kawhi, the man who felt like he needed extra time with the Spurs and extra time with the Raptors, comes out and says, I can play, but he feels like the Clippers are holding him back. To me, that is a very loud statement. But also, when like I said, I told you, Mark, when I looked at the Trae Young injury, on the flip side, I looked at the Trae Young injury, and when they said bone bruise, I feel like it might, I don't know whether to say what the team is holding him back, or whether to say that the team is withholding information the way that they did with KD. Because I feel like maybe Trae Young, bone bruise, he shouldn't be out. Maybe it's more serious and they're just not telling us. I can't just jump straight to the conclusion that they're just trying to preserve Trae Young for next year. After what happened to KD, I don't know. But I do feel like if I had to decide, I would say that maybe there's a trend in the direction of, I wouldn't be surprised if the teams are looking at these situations and saying, look, man, we'd rather just have you next year than anything else. But like I said, Trae Young, I don't know. I don't know what his situation is. I've had Giannis. I've had a hyperextended knee. I've done it 1,000 times. One time I did it bad enough to where I couldn't. I was on crutches for a week. Right. So I don't know.
And well, I guess, and that you kind of talked into my next part, but before I do that, Ricky, do you want to go ahead and speak?
Well, I've been looking
be
at
off camera for a second. Hold on. Yeah, go ahead.
No problem.
Go ahead.
I've been looking at this whole situation for some time now and trying to get a better understanding of a lot of it, because a lot of it does look fishy to me. I went back and did some research on it, and it seems like a lot of the medical staff really don't know what the hell they're doing when it comes down to this, and them too being scared to lose their job. They're not diagnosing the players correctly, and it's causing issues. And the earliest I can find where they were having issues that I believe led to this was with the Blazers team back in like 2012. I don't know if you guys remember when like LaMarcus Aldridge had like his best freaking season, and he was playing, and like 2 weeks before he went to the playoffs, he had that huge knee injury, and it stopped him from going into the postseason and whatnot. Okay. Well, come to find out that there was this guy that was a general manager on it, like Ted Penn or something like that. I can't remember his name exactly. I just know his first name was Ted, so forgive me. But he had this one dude do this study to check the team out and see how they can prevent a lot of these things. And come to find out, the Blazers have a really bad history of diagnosing their teams wrong. This caused Greg Oden, what's his name? Brandon Roy, and there was another dude, Zach something with the P. Do you remember that player, Shawn? I know you know like a lot of the old players. Something Zach with the P. I think his name was Zach something.
Okay.
Yeah, he played on the Blazers probably like 2012 or whatever. Big man. But anyway, all these dudes kept getting hurt, and when he ended up doing his findings, he said that it was a lot of things that were missed by the medical staff, and they could have prevented this shit and could have saved these dudes injuries, but they ignored the data. Well, a week after he put this information out, that's when LaMarcus Aldridge went and he had as a second opinion done by his personal doctors. And the doctors were like, pretty much like, yeah, you guys misdiagnosed the injury he had in March, and now he's fucked up and injured and can't play in the playoffs now. So I think that's what started this. And going on to even when Adam Silver took over, injuries have been up an alarming amount. And I think the medical staff are too scared to speak up and say, hey, don't let this player play, because the owners and the coaches are like, fuck that. We're in the season. We need this player to get in and get through. Them losing something, I think it was almost like $250 million or something not per season from these stars not playing. They're just pushing them out now. And now depending on where the season gets, they're just saying, yo, the injury is worse than it is, misdiagnosing them, just to save face to say, hey, this player needs to sit out longer. And I think that's a huge, huge issue now, because now the players are going back and going, I don't trust the doctors. Let me get a second opinion. Sometimes the doctor, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think the name you're looking for was Zach Collins. He was a big man that they drafted. He ended up going through multiple surgeries. I've never really seen him play, but that would explain why.
It might have been Zach Collins. I can't remember the exact name.
I don't know.
Oh, I'm sorry. I fucked it up completely. It's Joel Prisbilla.
Oh, Prisbilla? Oh, yeah. I know about Prisbilla. Yeah. Prisbilla was, he was going to be one of those new age bigs, stretch 4, stretch 5. Yeah, he was actually nice. Yeah. I need to He's a victim of this. And according to all these studies that they keep doing, they're losing so much money when these stars aren't playing now that if they get a slight injury, they'll say it's something radical to either try to sit them for, what does LeBron like to call it, load management, so they can try to figure out the right diagnosis, or they'll just be like, oh, this looks like something minor, so go ahead and play. And it leads to something bigger. Okay.
And I think...
I was going to say, what you're saying is dope, because what I was going to come back and say is, to clarify what I was saying, to like sum it up, is I believe that it's happening on both sides of the coin. I feel like for their own interest, they're making injuries seem not as bad as what they really are, but they're also making them seem worse than what they really are. But both ways is in favor of the team and the money, which is exactly what you're talking about right now.
Well, the fucked up part is like Kawhi, for instance. Kawhi kept telling them, yo, my knee is fucked up. I'm not right. I need to sit. And the team's like, oh, here comes Kawhi being Kawhi again. Your knee, it hurts. You're not playing
Mm-hmm.
right. And then the rest of the team starts looking at him like, oh, here comes this dude being that dude again. Kawhi's been playing through an injury this whole time, and the injury caught up with them in playoff times. Now, if they would have let him sit during the normal season, do what he needs to do come playoff time, they might be in the finals right now because it wasn't looking like anybody can beat them. Even with Paul George leading the team, they were like this close to beating the Suns. They just didn't have that extra firepower. So I think it's one of those things to where they need to get the right medical staff and stop being cheap, because that's what it seems like. You got all this money to be this rich, powerful organization, but just like any corporation, you're going to cut ends where you can to save as much money and get as much profit as you can. And it's fucking up everything.
But what I'll say is this, like, as an organization, if you're really thinking about money, and I know it doesn't make sense logically, but if you're thinking about money, there's two decisions that they're going to make logically. Number one, hire the right medical staff, or number two, hire the medical staff that you can manipulate so that you can ensure that no matter what the situation is, you make the most money. And that's what I feel like they're doing. They're hiring the guys, and then the caveat, the kickback for that particular medical staff is they're getting overpaid. They're getting referred. You know what I'm saying? I mean, imagine what that does for you. Like, hey, look, man, I'm the surgeon for, I'm the orthopedic surgeon for the New York Knicks. Like, that shit means something out in the world. So it's like, you scratch my back by just listening to me and making sure that we make money here. And in return, you're going to get business outside of here.
Well,
you know what I'm saying? So I feel like maybe I always go to the nefarious, you know what I'm saying, to the nefarious side with these things, with the conspiracy shit. But I 1000% believe that they're just hiring the folks that are going to do their bidding. It's the same thing with the way that Jerry Jones used to be for a very long time. I'm not even gonna say for a very long time. He's still kind of that way with the coaches that he picks. He'd rather pick a coach that'll listen to him and give him that power and still allow him to have that power than to hire a coach that's going to just show up and do the job the way it's supposed to be.
We'll see. It's different though. In football, you can get away with that because the players don't have any power. Like, not to be funny, the closest thing we've seen a player like flex on somebody was, what's his name from the Redskins? Trent Williams. They misdiagnosed him.
Yeah, Trent Williams, yeah.
He was like, I'm not playing. You guys can kiss my ass. And yeah, that didn't work out for them. They ended up having to trade him and have to pick up talent elsewhere.
Yep.
Oh fuck!
But at the same time, you get my point though. I do feel like the organizations are hiring these the medical staff in the best interest of money, of keeping the stars on the court or removing them from the court when they want to preserve them.
You know what? But I want to agree with that, but I can't, because it's like they do have some of the best names in there for part of their organization. But like you said, they still have that leverage over these people that were like, hey, man, how does it look on your resume that you got fired from the Knicks?
Well, these guys don't. That's the thing. These guys don't get fired. Like, for example, I'm gonna bring up the Grant Hill injury. The Grant Hill injury happened, and he went from seeing the team doctor for the Pistons to when he got traded to Orlando to seeing the team doctors there, and he basically had to seek like a fifth opinion that was outside of the NBA circles for him to get fixed before he went to the Suns. So like, it's one of those things where it's like, they just, whenever they report on it, whenever it gets reported on, the reason why they're able to keep their jobs is they get reported on and say, wow, it's just a weird ass injury. I don't know what happened to Grant Hill's foot. They never blame the doctors. They never say misdiagnosis when they report these things, because they have NBA reporters that, you know what I'm saying, they want to keep their inside scoops. They want to keep those relationships. So not once have I ever heard the Grant Hill situation be listed as a misdiagnosis. It's always been listed as it was more complicated than they thought it was.
So you think that might be the increase of modern medicine over the years, or you just think that's them being a little more careless on how they report things nowadays since everything's so rapid? You can fuck up now and go, oh, this dude's parents died on the fucking news, and then come out later and be like, oh, my bad, his parents didn't die. It was some little boy, but don't worry about that because it's not Grant Hill's parents. Like,
Well,
they do
now,
shit like that now.
well, I'll say now everybody can be a reporter, but even though everybody can be a reporter now, not everybody can get that inside scoop with the team. They're still preserving these relationships. That's the reason why you're not going to see that in the NBA circles and stuff like that when it comes to the team doctors. They still have to preserve these relationships, and that's what it comes down to. So I don't feel like the media is ever going to report these accurately. If somebody steps out there and tries to, they're gonna get squashed like a bug.
I see it for more as so for the NBA, the players have more of a say so. So if the doctor doesn't
they do,
buy doctor.
they do. But I mean, look at KD's situation. Has KD once at any point in time, has there been any rumors of KD coming out and saying he feels like he was misdiagnosed?
No, but ironically, in this situation, we had that with Kawhi. Kawhi came out and said I was misdiagnosed.
Kawhi's the only he's the only person speaking up. What I'm saying is Kawhi's the only person that I've ever heard. He's the only NBA player I've ever heard speak up about it. He's the only one. Guys will quietly get a second and third opinion and not trash the team doctors. But Kawhi is the first person that I've seen him be outspoken on it on both ends. He's been outspoken on it when he feels like they're trying to push him back to come back early, and he's been outspoken on it when he feels like he's not playing when he should be.
That's fair, but I also think a lot of the times with the misdiagnosis, we get it with the young players. The older players, you can't fake that shit. They kind of got to go sit down. The younger players is, oh, you're young, you'll be okay. You're healing fast. Like, not to be funny, Giannis shouldn't be out there right now.
Yeah, but I honestly think that a lot of players trust these doctors, and it's just one less thing for them to deal with. A lot of these players don't want to do the research or try to look into things far enough to where it's like, now I got to spend extra time to figure out whether these motherfuckers is treating me right and doing all this stuff. Yes, players care about their bodies to a certain extent, but when you have somebody that's been a team doctor for 20 plus years and is a medical expert in their field and they're coming in and telling you something, I feel like players just don't question it.
I think they do, but there's the peer pressure. Like, look at Paul George the last couple of playoffs. Paul George, why do you have this ice pack on your shoulder? This shit hurts, but I can't let the team down. I think it's a combination of all that. Just the whole environment of it all. Even if they want to question it, they're not going to. Well, I think Kawhi is one of the few people that just doesn't give a fuck.
All right, listen. I didn't get a chance to weigh in, so I'm gonna weigh in.
My bad. Go ahead.
So I'm gonna weigh in now. In this particular case, you are correct that it is a combination of all of it. It is a machismo factor when it comes to the player, where he's like, and this has been built up. I guess you could call it toxic masculinity or whatever you want to call it. But it's a thing that has been built up in our society of like, rub some dirt on it. You're needed out there. Go get the job done. And then you also have overinflated stories such as Michael Jordan's flu game and stuff like that. And that also creates a mindset in your head that of players wanting to create those situations as well.
Legacy. Yeah.
So it's legacy building for you to go out there and put the team on your back when you don't necessarily have it. But then there's also the flip side of it where a player, like, he'll stub his finger or he'll stub it, like, he might get a minor injury to his wrist or whatever have you, know that his team's not going anywhere, and be like, oh, my wrist feels like shit. I can't do nothing. I can't play. You know what I mean? Because he knows they're not going anywhere and it doesn't really matter one way or the other. So he's just not going to give his full effort. You see it that way as well. And on a doctor's side, though, you have it like you'll have a situation where it's like James Wood at any given Sunday, where he's like what you were saying, Shawn, where you had the doctors like, yo, listen, this is what's going on with this player, but what do y'all want to do, or what do you want me to tell him before before I go in and tell him what's going on? And then when shit hits the fan, you'll have you'll have Al Pacino come in talking about like, what, you've been doing this to these players, blah blah blah, knowing damn well you knew exactly what he was doing the whole fucking time. Like,
Yep.
you know, so like so like
Yep.
so it's a weird situation in the, like, in that regard. But I think what's happening now is that they're moving away from those type of situations where they were once upon a time like, yo, look, get him out there, man. Like, but yo, he like his ACL is holding on by like two strands. Who gives a fuck? Get him out there, wrap that shit up, and get him out there. They're getting away from like the pendulum swinging all the way this way to where now the pendulum is moving all the way over here. And it's
So
like,
it's an overcorrection.
yeah, it's an overcorrection now to where now it's like, yo, so and so, he like, oh, he hyperextended his knee. Okay, but there's no structural damage, nothing's torn or anything. It's just he just feels a strain and some pain. Oh, okay. Well, we're going to keep him out for a lengthy amount of time. And it's like, well, that's a little bit of an overcorrection versus where it should be. It should be somewhere in the middle. And I think eventually it will get to that. It's just right now where it's seeming like we're getting into the overcorrection stage. And I personally think the catalyst of that overcorrection stage was the KD injury. And
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that.
And because the KD injury was in the finals, it was in the massive stage. All eyes saw it,
and they lost the finals because of that.
And they lost the finals because of it. So it sent the KD situation essentially left all parties involved with egg on their face. So I think that's where we are now. Nobody wants to look like that. So now we're in an overcorrection phase.
Well, yeah, the biggest thing is if I don't think the overcorrection even happens if KD stays with the Warriors. But teams have to now look at it like, yo, this superstar might leave.
Right.
If you fuck this up. Like, you know what I mean? Like, not only will you lose the finals, but they might just say deuces, dog. Because I'm sure they feel like that's part of the decision making.
Yeah. I mean, I thought that was part of his decision.
I thought it was too. Yeah. So.
Yeah. I see that Rickey disagrees, and it's fair to disagree with that being part of his decision or not. But that's just my personal thought, like, because he has said that he was leaving regardless, and because I think the other part of his decision is in fact Draymond Green.
I think that was I think that's the biggest part of his decision, but that's different. But so yeah, but I do believe the pressure that players that are put on players to perform while they're hurt is real. Just to give a quick short story, I ran track in high school. You know, I was the best high jumper on the team. I was going to go to states, all that shit. You know, I eventually finished my career, you know, being all-state high jumper, all that shit. I remember going to a track meet, or before leading up to track meet, pulling a hamstring. I felt like maybe it was a strain and not a full pull. And I remember being done, and I was like, yo, I can't do nothing. Coach pushed me to try to help rehab it. Saturday came, it was a big Saturday meet. We were going to go to a college or university to do our track meet. And I remember jogging to school that morning just to test it out. I did a little sprinting and it felt good. And I remember, you know, coach said it was okay. I went, when we got to the track meet, I did my first jump. I mean, it wasn't a strain at that point. It was a complete pull my hamstring, right? And I remember like barely being able to limp back to the starting point. And it's just like, yo, you got 3 attempts though. You just did the first attempt. You know what I'm saying? Like it's mind over matter. It's mind over matter. You know what I'm saying? It's a mental thing. It's not really a physical thing. She convinced me that it was just in my head. And I was like, all right, fuck it. I'll go ahead and give me an extra little minute. Okay, cool. They asked me if I was okay. I'm like, I'm gonna go, you know. And team needs you, all that shit was said to me, it's an ego thing. And I'm like, all right, cool. I'll at least give it a go. I don't think I could do shit, but I want to die on my shield,
Right.
So I'm like, okay, I go out there and I do another jump. In the second jump, when I tell you, I jumped and I fell on the bar. It was at its lowest point. I mean, I should be able to jump this easy. And I'm just like, yo, fuck this. I mean, it was the most excruciating pain I had in a while. And I was like, yo, I'm done. I'm telling coach I'm done. I'm walking off. And she's like, nah, come on, just finish the last jump. Don't even worry about it. Just go out. Like you'll be fine. You'll be fine. I'm like, yo, I feel like I tore this motherfucker, right? And she's like, nah, you're good. Just go ahead and go. And somehow my dumb ass, she had the right words to convince me. I was like, you know what? All right, I'll just do this one last one, and then I'll be done for the day. So I go, and when I do my third jump, I couldn't even get off the ground. Like when I went to just push down, I just collapsed. You know what I'm saying? Now, that turned my injury from a possible 2-week injury to where I was down and out for 3 months. Like, I literally probably cost myself scholarships because of that situation, because I just wasn't going to be competing for that long. You know what I mean? I was down for 3 months, man, because of that shit. But I'm saying, like, the peer pressure is real. The coaching pressure is real. I can only imagine what it feels like if you got an owner talking to you. So I mean, that shit is real. That shit is a real thing, man. And then when they put the pressure of you don't want to let your team down, that shit definitely changes your whole perspective on what you're thinking about your injury.
Yeah. Yeah, it's rough.
Yeah.
Cautionary tale. Don't be weak-willed like Shawn.
Hey, that's real facts though. It is what it is.
But
you know what I'm saying?
It's not even just you though. It happened to AD. AD had all these crazy injuries coming into this. He had a bad medical staff back when he was with the Pelicans. He comes to the Lakers. You think it's greener on the other side, and you would think the KD would tell you, hey, don't do this. But AD went out there and was like, they say it ain't that bad. And AD went out there. He tried to get like a rebound, and he fell to the ground. And everybody's like, I told you he's a bitch. And he's just sitting on the ground like, I'm sorry, LeBron. And then LeBron's like, fuck, I'm out of the first round. And it is what it is.
Yo, first thing me and Mark said was he shouldn't even be out there. I don't know how many people said he shouldn't be out there. So what the fuck is he doing out there? But
your team. You're in LA. The lights is on you.
That pressure, bro. That pressure is different, man. I only experienced it on a high school level at a state track meet. I can only imagine what that shit is like in the NBA. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I can't fathom it.
Yo, it's something serious. There probably dollars involved in that shit. Motherfuckers start talking to you about money and how long you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, you hope you don't expect to get a max contract. They're gonna look at you like, motherfuckers start talking money to you. That's
generational wealth.
Yeah, that's it. They saying you're not worth the money, dog. Are you gonna go out there tonight? What?
All right. So now we're moving along. We're going to move into the next topic, and I guess this is actually this is a big story because some final news came out today. Sha'Carri Richardson, the Olympic hopeful, and possibly the favorite to win gold. It is official that she will not be allowed to participate in any Olympic event because her taking the 30 days made it possible for her to participate in the relay race, but the Olympic team decided to not select her for the 4x100 relay. So she will miss the Olympics altogether. And for those that don't know, Sha'Carri Richardson is missing the Olympics because she has recently tested positive for marijuana. She she has come out and made a statement saying that she understands why she was suspended. She she fully accepts her punishment, and she explained why she did it. And I sympathize with her and I empathize with her, but she said, even though may have a reason for doing so, it's not an excuse. And in case you don't know the reason, her she found out that her biological mother passed away, and she didn't find out from a family member. She found out from a reporter while being interviewed. Um, which is like
That's wild. That's wild.
that's a wild separate story on its own. Um, but um, so after finding out this news, obviously being hurt and everything, she was looking for a little bit of escapism, and she chose marijuana as her choice. And she says she understands why she's not allowed to participate, but that was indeed her choice, and she accepts the consequences that comes with it. So, I guess my real question is, given that she has the maturity and understanding that of what's going on, the situation, and rules being rules, why does it seem like her fan base and others like Odell Beckham Jr. don't get the same message? Because now largely the black community is saying boycott the Olympics, and Odell Beckham is also out there with the same sentiment, in which he is, I guess he's trying to support another LSU alumni, but I feel like you're doing her an injustice because you're doing something that she doesn't want you to do. She is taking the mature route and the correct route, and now you are muddying a situation in which she is doing the right thing. So I guess, what is your guys' thoughts on it?
Ricky, I'll let you go first on this one.
No,
I'm
no.
gonna be honest, I'm not as well versed in this. I got the quick rundown from what Mark has from it. So I'm gonna just be 100% honest. I don't really got much to say for it. If she's owning up to whatever happened, all you can do is respect her decision of how she's handling it and shut the fuck up. Like, just respect it. Let her stand by what she needs to. Now, as far as boycotting the Olympics, I understand your displeasure with that, but she's not the only black person that's going to enter the Olympics. Stand by the rest of these people who have busted their ass off to get there and still have the opportunity to possibly shine during this. Don't forget about them. It's not a one person thing. Yes, I do understand you want to support her during these rough times, but you can't turn your back on everybody else. There's other athletes in there that are black as well that have worked just as hard or are going to give their all to try to get some type of medal in there. So don't discredit everything that they've gone through in their life to get to this point because of this misunfortunate event with this young lady. That's how I feel about the situation.
Yes, and uh, Gabby Thomas, who is an Olympian going to the Olympics, she has expressed the same sentiments, like uh of what you're saying now, and it's 100% correct. Like, what are you doing? Like, you want to boycott the Olympics as if like now there's no black people involved, and like you want to turn your back on everybody else because this person who admits in doing wrong or doing things that are against the rules, and you want to turn your back as if she was done some sort of injustice, which is not right because Sha'Carri Richardson was not done an injustice. Shawn.
Yeah, man. So a couple of things. I definitely agree with both of y'all sentiments when it comes to that. Um, the other situation is this. Like, I know some people were hopeful that she would make that she would get a chance to qualify for the relay team, and then I know some people are disappointed that they have declined. And I don't think people understand that there is there's only a certain amount of invitations that go out. They've probably already gone out. You know what I'm saying? So in order for them to give her a second chance, they would have to take away an invitation from somebody, which that would not be right, you know? And let's just keep it, let's keep it real. It's fucking track and field. Chances are that invitation would be taken from another black athlete. So with that said, you know, yeah, man, I don't think people are looking at the bigger picture of it all. And like I said, she said, like, I'm talking about within hours of this stuff breaking, she went live, she did interviews, she said, look, it is what it is. I broke the rules. It is what it is. This is like when you see these social justice situations happen where, you know, you see somebody get, you know, wrongfully killed by the cops or whatever, and the family comes out and they say, you know what, we're praying for everybody involved. We're praying for, you know, the cops. We don't harbor any ill will towards them, and we just want people to leave the situation alone. And then what happens? Next thing you know, you got people burning down buildings and doing all these other things in the name of the person that got killed against the family's wishes. So it's one of those things where it's like I feel like people are very disingenuous in their caring about social justice situations.
Hey, real quick, Shawn, I just want to let you know, in case I've never told you, if some nefarious shit happened to me, I want you to burn down the building.
Okay, see, clarity. Hey, I'm gonna respect your wishes, Mark. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's what it comes down to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like an anarchy.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, man. I don't want nobody coming behind me and being like, well, you know, he wasn't this type of guy. Like, no, motherfucker. If that shit was wrong, fight.
Exactly.
Fight for me. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, you know what I mean? Like, but that's right. We've seen it happen, where people just go against the family's wishes. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, what are you fighting for? Is this shit about that person? Is it about their family, or is this shit about you? So I feel like a lot of this stuff is just people are making it personal. They're making it about them. And the other thing I wanted to touch on was it's a global organization. This isn't the United States athletic, you know, world championship athletic, whatever department. This is the Olympic Committee. Different countries have different rules. I spent 1 year in Korea, 1 year and 2 years in Japan. I knew somebody who was looking down the barrel of 20 to 25 years for, you know, trying to make a deal where he was going to pick up or buy 2 pounds of weed from somebody. 2 pounds of weed was going to be 25 years in Japan. I knew somebody, I indirectly knew somebody who was doing 8 years, or excuse me, not 8 years, 5 years for having a personal amount of weed on them in Korea. You know what I'm saying? So you could sit here and say like the stigma is gone in the United States, and there's other professional sports within the United States that have been lightening up, and it's legal in 18 of 50 states and all the other shit. But it's like, this is the Olympics. This is a world committee. It ain't just about the United States. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think people understand that. I don't think Americans understand that. So, but that's all I got for that.
Well, yeah, I think it's very interesting in that you may feel that the rule in and of itself is stupid. You may feel that the rule is incorrect and should not be. That is all fair, and that's fine that you feel that way. But fight the rule going forward. You can't be like, oh, okay, she should get a pass because that's but no, that's the current rule. That is the current rule, and it wasn't. And the people are making it seem like they were out to get Sha'Carri Richardson. Like, no, this rule just existed. She just happened to break it.
She
Like,
said she knew it was a rule.
right? You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody knows it's a rule. Like, like, you know what I mean? Like, like there was other people that have popped up, positive, that are Olympians, and they've gotten bans as well. Shelby Houlihan, who is a white, she is a white Olympic runner, for mid-range distance, and she got a 4-year ban for steroids. Like, just that was just this past week. Well, I think it was on the 18th of June. But yeah, so she also got a ban. So it like it's a little bit, so it's not like Sha'Carri was being targeted, and it's weird. I think some of it may be getting confused, or people are letting their emotions get into it, a little bit. And I thought about this earlier when it comes to, like, do you think that this could be like a little bit of a leakage from people's emotions of how black people are treated overall when it comes to drug offenses versus anyone else?
I feel like that's part of it, but I also feel like it's part of um it's not just that the way that black people have been treated for drug offenses, it's also the way that people have felt, the general populace has felt about marijuana over the last, like, I mean, this is just now getting legalized in so many states. People have felt like it should have been decriminalized at least over the last 10, 15 years. So I think this is more of a sentiment of how people have, it's a combination, I guess, of how people have felt about marijuana and how people feel about black people in drug charges. But I also feel like, to make it full circle, people are at the point where, dog, they only care, when it comes to sports, they only care about cheating. If this isn't a drug that's helping them cheat, then they don't give a fuck. And that's what it comes down to. Like, yo, how is this making that person perform better? It's not. It's actually possibly a detriment. Then what are we talking about here? If we ain't talking about, like, people, I think there's such a segment of the population now that is hyper focused on separating sports from politics. In that particular segment is looking at this situation where it's like, yo, she did not gain any benefit. You know, there is no edge that she got from this. Then why the fuck is this even a rule in the first place?
Yeah, it seems like people are trying, like, we're getting at a place in sports where which is a good place, where we're actually starting to look at our sports figures as actual human beings. Like, once upon a time, you had to be like, well, you even, I mean, the rules still show it, but you have to be like this perfect figure, this perfect model citizen. So you can't be in, so you can't, like, you can't be seen outside drunk. Like, you can't be involved in this, that, and the third. You know what I mean? Like, you have to appear like this sterling example of whatever you're representing. And now people are getting away from that. Like, nah, this person's human. They go through shit and things happen. Like, so it is what it is.
Yeah,
But all the same, the rule's the rule. And it has to be that way. Um, I just want to share this because I think it's funny, and then we'll move on. So Rick, in the military, in the USMJ, which is the code
UCMJ.
Excuse me, the UCMJ, the code for military justice. It shows it inside of it. There's a rule for sodomy. And for those that don't know what sodomy means, it means you know,
Yeah, anything outside of vaginal penetration.
exactly. Anything else, anything outside of vaginal penetration. So you, so it's a rule that you cannot commit sodomy. Now, I think it's hilarious because that's a rule that's still in. It's still in there today. So essentially, Shawn, who is still in the military, could go like he could get an Article 15 or something if he was doing something outside of vaginal penetration with his wife. Or so
But don't they have gay people in the military now?
yes.
See, but that's also the thing.
Right.
I'm sorry, LBG too. Yeah, whatever. Y'all know
They
what
can't. That's the thing. They can't ask them. Because before they used to have a policy called "Don't ask, don't tell," meaning like I can't ask you if you're gay, and you shouldn't tell me. And
right.
now, with that said, I have seen somebody that I knew that was in the dorms with me and Mark that happened to be gay, and once he contracted the virus, he had to say where he got it from. And the way that they kicked him out of the military was because of sodomy. So this was in 2003, 2004. Like, that sounds crazy to probably a normal person, but that's the way shit was, you know what I'm saying? So even though gay people are allowed in the military, they just, you know, if they wanted to, if somebody walked in on them having, you know, gay relations, they could just be like, hey, look, hey, that's not allowed. I'm gonna write you up. They could.
Right.
It probably won't happen, but they could. That's the problem.
And but I brought that up to say that like that is hands down probably one of the dumbest rules that you will.
Isn't that entrapment? Like what the fuck?
Well, like
It's an entrapment. Look, I don't know. I don't know how any of this works anymore, man. I really don't.
So you saying it's entrapment? Like, oh, you let gays in, and then you gonna entrap them just so you can give them dishonorable discharges?
That's what it seems like. Because you're telling me, yo, don't penetrate the anal cavity. But we know that you like to penetrate the anal cavity, so you got to walk on eggshells. That's fucked up.
I mean, like I said,
that's like, wow.
And I wanted to give the example of old buddy getting kicked out because it's not something that they would normally enforce.
Right.
It's not something that they would, but because he got infected and there was a chance that he infected somebody else, they kicked him out because of sodomy. It was the most ridiculous thing that I had ever seen. But like I said, even though it might not happen most of the time, it's still available for it to happen. But it's just another one of those cases where there's certain rules that should not exist, that are made from an old time, that just need to be done away with.
Yeah.
So I agree. I feel people's sentiments.
And that's the main reason why I brought it up, is because I 1,000% feel the sentiment of the rule being stupid and it needs to change. But in this particular case, like you know what it is, and she's accepting of her punishment. Like, there's a lot of stupid rules out there, and they all need to change. But unfortunately, we're not going to get that. I mean, shit. In some states like Alabama, you could still marry a 12-year-old and shit. So, like,
yeah. I'll tell you what. One rule in particular in the military: as a male, you are not allowed to wear earrings on a military installation.
Nope.
You could be the son of somebody that's in the military, 12 years old, and if you have earrings on a military installation, you gotta take them. You gotta take them out. You know what I'm saying? That's a rule that I commonly broke all the time. But you know what? If somebody ever wanted to write me up for it, I'll take it. I'll take it. Like it's what it is. What it is. So
I broke that shit going to work. Like
like in uniform.
Yeah, I like, yo, well, I mean, living in Las Vegas and shit. I worked, and I worked swing shift most of the time,
Yeah,
so I was used to partying all night long. Well, I worked swing shift and then I I had to work day shift the next day or some shit. I went out the night before and I stayed out till like probably like 4 or 5. So like you know
yeah.
what I mean. I get home, I sleep for about 2 hours, and I just get up and I'm like, I get up, watch, dress,
Hey, put your shit on.
and
Like you're a professional at this point. You've been going out for a minute. You're just like, yo, I'm not gonna let it make me late to work. I'm just
yeah,
gonna put my shit on and go.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So I'm out the door and I'm driving and shit. I go through the gate. I do all this shit right. I
Don't
say
even say nothing at the gate. Like
no.
you just
I say, and mind you, I got this is in the 2000s. So
so
like,
you know it's bad
I
earrings, yo.
got like I got big diamond studs and like them joints is glistening, and I'm out there like, and like I'm seeing people and they're like hello, and like it was one person that looked at me like they kind of took a second glance, and I was like, oh, that was weird, but I keep going and I'm getting to work, and then like my master sergeant looks at me like when I walk in the roll call, he's like, really? And I'm like, what happened? Like he's like, for real? Are you serious right now? And like everybody's looking at me and laughing. Now, mind you, I'm a staff sergeant. And he's
Oh, this is after you already made staff. Oh, that's terrible, dog. That's
yeah,
terrible. You're supposed to be setting the example, Mark.
right. And then, like, and then they was like, yo, somebody was like they pulled their ear, and so when he pulled his ear, I finally felt
You
that
touched that shit.
like
Yeah.
I found no, like I didn't even touch it yet. I just felt like it was like I felt that they were in my ear when he pulled his ear. I was like, oh shit, and then I was like, oh fuck, and like I pulled them out, and like I'm like, how did all these people just let me go and just didn't say a goddamn thing to me? Now, mind you, and I was in uniform. Now, mind you, I was in San Diego in Miramar I was going to go see a girl that I met in Vegas and we decided to link up in San Diego. Um and I was at Miramar and I was in civilian clothes, regular clothes, and I was just checking into a hotel or whatever, and I had my earrings and I had my earrings in.
See,
The moment that somebody saw me, they was like, "Yo, get them fucking earrings out your ear." Blah 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 blah.
you checking into a hotel on base. I tell you, yeah. So
Yeah. Like in the moment somebody saw me, they was like, "Get them fucking earrings out your ear." Blah 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 blah. And I'm like, "Oh shit." And like you know what I mean? But now, mind you, like that's just how things go. You know what I mean? Like one place I see 8 people, and no, and like people just kind of move along with it. And another place, the very first person that saw me tries to rip my shit, and I wasn't even in uniform at the time. So
yeah, it is weird how that happens, man. Yeah, motherfucker asked me for my ID card once. I said nope. No, we was in a library. I was like, bro, I'm just sitting here trying to print some papers out, bro. I'm only gonna be in here for 5 minutes. He was like, are you military? I was like, who the fuck are you? Why you need to know? He was like, let me see your ID card. I was like, man, I ain't giving you shit.
right,
He just looked at me. He was upset. He couldn't say nothing. I was like, what the fuck you want from me, man? Move. I mean, I drew attention to myself. People was now looking at me. And I was like, let me get the fuck up out of here, pull my ID card out this fucking computer before they fucking find out that I'm military and shit. Let me get the fuck up out of here. My papers and go. But but yeah, I mean, because that's the thing. They'll say something to you if you're military, even though the rules still apply for civilians that were on base, whether they're dependents of, or children of the active military duty. They, even though the rule still applies to them, they wouldn't come to them. They wouldn't come to them and say something. They would only come to the active duty military folks. So
right.
I was like, man, motherfucker, I don't gotta say shit to you, man. I ain't got no fucking ID card. But like, it was a pretty bold move because I was in that bitch sweating.
Bold move, Cotton.
I was like, I hope you don't come around the side of this computer and see my card in this motherfucker because it'd be toasted. But yeah, like nah.
Yeah.
Nah. I was pretty bold with it, but at the same time, like I said, I was willing to accept whatever punishment came with that shit. So
yeah. So lastly, last topic of conversation that we have on the docket tonight brings us to football. And in the NFL, recently Shawn and I had spoke about Daniel Snyder's wife becoming co CEO of the Washington football team. And we said and we joked around saying this is a baby, please stay with me type of thing, given all the allegations that he has going on. But it seems to be a much deeper play than we had originally thought, because the co-CEO thing seems to be him jumping in front of a punishment that he knew was coming down. Daniel Snyder of the Washington football team has recently been fined $10 million, and he has been removed from the day-to-day operations of the Washington football team. All day-to-day operations will now be reported to his wife, who is the co-CEO, versus versus anyone else. So it seems like now maybe his wife will be talking for him through proxy versus anything else, because they essentially the NFL said, we don't want to see you right now.
And it's in the I don't want to see you right now. It's listed as indefinite. They haven't even put a date to it.
Right.
So, yeah.
So I'm going to. I guess I will start now that you know the backstory of his punishment. I'm going to start with you, Ricky. How do you feel? Actually, no, I'm not going to start with Ricky. We've been starting with Ricky this whole time. Let's start with Shawn.
Give it to me.
Let's start with Shawn.
Hey.
There we go. Yeah.
So Shawn, how you feel, man?
Man, it's like, how much slimier can you get as a human being than Dan Snyder? Like, I don't know, Mark. Like, I mean, I get it, and it's one of those things where we've seen how this plays out in scenarios where an owner gets removed, the league gets involved in the replacement process. We saw it with the Clippers. So we see, if you want to go back to the New Orleans Hornets days, when what's his name? Dan. Can't remember his fucking name. The old commissioner for the NBA. He stepped in and David Stern. He was handling the day-to-day operations for the New Orleans Hornets at the time. You know, they get involved in the choosing process of who's going to come in and replace them. So, yes, it was definitely a heads-up move by Dan Snyder to say, before they do this shit, I'm going to make a co-CEO. That way, they can't just say, well, there's no replacement for you, so we're going to pick somebody out of the pot. You know what I'm saying? He don't want to relinquish control. So I'm imagining that, yeah, he's going to try to be the puppeteer, even though they say they don't want to see him. But, Mark, I still do feel like maybe wifey feels a little certain way about the shit that happened. You know what I'm saying? So Dan Snyder's going to try to play puppeteer, but I can't guarantee that it's going to be his way, with her holding all the leverage. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's keep it real, man. You give your woman the keys to the car or the keys to the relationship, keys to the bank account, whatever it is, man, she can promise you that she's going to do what you want, but that shit is not going to happen. So I am curious to see what happens from here on out with the Washington football team. And to be honest with you, man, like, I get it. There's nothing that the NFL can do about him making a preemptive move and making her co-CEO. But I just assume that means they're going to be watching very closely. So there will be, I expect there to be a spotlight on the day-to-day operations of what's going on with the Washington football team.
Hey, why don't you share with the people what exactly he got fined and is removed from his day-to-day duties for?
Oh, that man had all kind of sexual harassment, sexual assault allegations. I mean, they say that man was inviting the entire cheerleading squad to go on private yacht parties just to have a bunch of old men hit on them and shit. It was some wild stuff, man. It was some wild stuff. Like, yo, you want to keep your job? You got to go on this yacht party.
They said Jay Gruden was having lap dances on his desk and shit.
Dog, hey, he was wilding, son. Like, like you think wifey just go get the keys to the organization and be like, yes, yeah, I'll do whatever, I'll do your bidding. No, I don't expect it to happen, Mark. We will see exactly how she feels about that man here in the once the season starts and once things start to unfold.
You're right. All right, Ricky.
That's wild. First and foremost, he gets the nasty award because that's doing the most. You got cheerleaders flying out, like get on Gruden's desk and pop, lock, and drop it. That's wild.
You're already underpaid. Do you want to be unemployed? Get on this yacht. Like it was wild. Yeah, it's everything that they warn you about with people in power and influence.
I can't believe the fine is only $10 million. That's chump change to a billionaire. That's fucking crazy. But I will say this: it sounded like he was listening to the big timers because he put everything in his mama's name, so they can't take shit. Like, I'm sorry. He's a dirty man, but he's a smart man. She can't take half if you give her half. That's what it looked like he did. He pulled. He's a smart one. He's a dirty, smart motherfucker. I give him that.
He's always been intelligent. You look at the stuff with the whole people railing against him about the whole Redskins name, and what he did was he picked a bunch of he sought out tribes and reservations that would take his money offerings. You know what I'm saying? And he had them, after they took his money offerings, he had them speak out on his behalf to say that we're cool with him having a name, because their situation was so dire that the money that he was going to give him was going to go to programs like I mean, he's the slimiest of the slimy. He's smart. But I'm just saying, dog, like, I mean, so this move, this ain't even like, you know, this is like a lower tier move for Dan Snyder. He ain't above nothing. That's what I'll tell you.
See, this making me want to like stay away from the Redskins for fantasy. Like, low key, I'm gonna tell y'all from now. I have my sights on Antonio Gibson, but I know the medical staff is trash, and he's talking about turf toe ain't been away since 6 months. This motherfucker is sexually harassing everybody in the building, including his wife. He only got to pay $10 million to get away from it. He gave her half, so he don't have to claim. Yeah, I'm staying away from the Washington football team.
He grimy.
Oh man, that's pathetic. That's
on a moral standpoint, you can't even draft them in the fantasy, huh? You can't even.
No, I didn't say none of that.
He said, okay. I just had to ask.
I'm trying to win the league, but it makes me look at that situation and go, damn, I might not want to mess with you because I might feel morally wrong. Like, right. Oh,
I was gonna say, I say Mark feel differently. Mark said, look, if he have to go 1-10, then he just have to go 1-10. He ain't drafting no Cowboys.
Never. Will never.
He won't do it. He will not do it.
And it's funny that you say that because this is just a tidbit, and we'll get right back to what we're talking about. But the Cowboys will be the hard knocks. Will be hard knocks, and I ain't watching that shit.
Do you want to have this conversation, Mark? I'm going to give you a fun fact. I'm not even going to have a conversation about it. I'm going to give you a fun fact. The best team to come out of Hard Knocks, the entire time it's been going on since 2013. There's only been 2 teams to make the playoffs. All right. And one of them was the Houston Texans. Everybody remembers the J.J. Watt shit.
And the Ravens.
Right? And then the Ravens, I don't know if they made it. Well, I can't remember. But I'll tell you what, the best team was the Bengals, which was the first year, which they went 11-5. Now, what I will say is this. The Hard Knocks teams are notoriously known for doing absolutely horrible after being on Hard Knocks.
Yeah.
So, with that said, You know what I'm saying? Congratulations to the Cowboys for another underwhelming season. We're gonna get out the way now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't like. I know Cowboys fans right now that are upset that they're on Hard Knocks because they feel like it's a curse already. I
Good.
love
Yikes.
every minute of it. I love every minute of it. I'm about to watch this shit.
But yes. But nah, man, Daniel Snyders still needs this nasty award, man. Like, you are absolutely right, Ricky. Especially, but what bothers me is that we see to have a hyper focus anytime a player does wrong in these regards or anything like that. But this is like a whole sex ring that was going on within the Washington football team, and
It was being sanctioned by the owner and initiated by the owner.
and yet,
Well, this isn't the first time we've seen that. Didn't the Patriots have like a whole massage parlor?
That was more
No,
of like a celebrity
that-
massage parlor. It had nothing to do with the Patriots. The owner just happened to be indulging, not the players and shit. But you know,
but yeah,
that's a whole different thing. But this is something that was literally orchestrated by the owner, and it was happening within the confines of the organization.
but you know what? You know the craziest thing that happened about this whole thing, Ricky? The investigator into the Washington football team stuff was hired
Oh yeah,
by Daniel Snyder. Like, she was hired by Daniel Snyder. Like, he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna launch an investigation into this. I'm going to get to the bottom of why this is happening." And pretty much the NFL was like, "Nah, bruh. We'll be taking that investigation over." Like,
yeah. He
Like,
tried to do
wait.
it. Yeah, he tried to
Didn't
do.
that him-
Go ahead.
I'm
Sorry.
sorry.
He tried to do Ricky because I know you're about to ask this. He tried to do a preemptive strike. Once they started hearing, because the first details they heard about was the yacht party stuff.
and it was from like a newspaper clipping.
Yeah, and it was the yacht party stuff because the cheerleader came out and spoke. Somebody got a hold of one of the cheerleaders and they spoke out about them being underpaid, undervalued, and they had all kind of weird shit going on. So once that happened, before they even found out about anything else, he immediately tried to do a preemptive strike by saying, "Oh, this is terrible. I'm gonna investigate the organization myself." So like he tried to, he was
It's
hoping
good.
he was
It's
hoping that
good.
I'm telling you, dog, it's everything is in his MO. Like he tried to launch an internal investigation, so to speak, and hire his own people to investigate in order to protect himself. He was like, "Look, I know I orchestrate all this shit, but all of you motherfuckers are going down, not me. You know why? Because I hired the lawyer." Like he was 1,000% out to protect himself, and they let it go on for a little bit, and then it's like, no, man, no, we got to investigate this. Like, you think that we're not going to investigate you because you launched your own investigation? It's like you're paying a lawyer. What if you're involved? Lo and behold, he was the goddamn ringleader. So I'm just saying it. Because we did report on this. This happened. The investigation happened in the off season.
Yeah, the investigation happened,
happened
last year.
Last
Well,
year,
well,
last
it,
year,
it
We had
started last
it
year.
was one of our first episodes that we talked about it. It's like episode 5 or 6 where we talked about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know. So yeah,
I'm confused that the NFL steps in and goes, "No, you can't do this." But ironically, with the Deshaun Watson incident, you have the owner being best friends with the lawyer that's prosecuting Deshaun Watson, but they don't want to step in for that.
but this is
Wait,
exactly what
Wow.
this is exactly what me and Mark are talking. This is exactly what Mark is talking about. It's a different treatment that the players get than the executives get when it comes to these sorts of things. Why is it that way? I don't know, but I tell you what, it sounds like the NFL, because we all know it's not one of the leagues where the commissioner has any power. They make it very clear that you work for us. So as long as that type of relationship exists, I don't think you'll ever see the type of treatment be equal across the board with everybody, with all parties involved. That's the way I see it. Like it's 1,000% protecting the best interest of the owners. $10 million?
Yeah.
$10 million,
Ain't shit.
Ricky.
Ain't shit.
And like
Well, for us, that's life changing. For
$10
them,
million. You know what I'm
that's
saying?
like
You know what I mean? Like
bad
to a
analogy,
mil-
but it's like throwing money at a stripper to them. They're like, oh, you want 10 mil? I don't give a fuck.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Oh, you want to
wow.
put your wife as co-CEO? I guess.
yeah.
Yep. Hey, man. Hey, I'm just
He's
saying.
good.
It looks a little funny, man. It looks a little funny.
And the
Nah,
owner,
he's a slime ball, but he's good.
Oh no, he's good at what he does. That's why he's, you know what I'm
He's
saying?
good.
But yeah.
and who was it? The owner of the Colts? Was it that?
Oh, you talking about Mr. DUI?
Yeah, like
That man has like 10
he had,
DUIs on his record,
he-
dog.
Yo,
Like that motherfucker get a DUI every month.
yo, he had so many DUIs, and they finally did something about him after like the 10th one, and like was he just suspended for like a year or two or some shit, or
They did something to him recently.
who was forced to sell?
But-
Was that that was the owner of the Panthers that was forced to sell? Who was forced to sell?
The Panthers owner was forced to sell. That's different. But
Yeah.
okay, so this is the craziest thing, right? So I just looked up Jim Irsay because that's
Yeah.
the owner, right?
Yeah.
Out of this whole fucking Google search, I don't see not one thing pop up about a DUI. You search up any fucking NFL player, whatever their transgressions are, that shit pops up immediately, dog. This is how crazy it is. But like Jim Irsay had so many DUIs, bro. Look, this is 2014. This is a long time ago. Jim Irsay arrested, charged with DWI, 4 felony counts. Motherfuckers just act like the shit never happened. Like that's the way the NFL works, man. That was in 2014.
Yeah. And like, and
I'm just saying,
and I
dog,
believe,
like-
and I believe that was like his 4th one or some shit like that.
Like that motherfucker stayed getting arrested for fucking DUIs. Like, I'm just saying, like everybody knew it.
Yeah.
Incredible.
How you get 4 felony counts and you still on the team, dog?
Money.
Like,
True.
like, and like, you know what I'm saying? Like, how don't you get removed for conduct detrimental to the Shield? Because that is their overall like rule, to where like if we can't get you on anything else, well, we can, like, if you slime your way out of anything else, we could get you on, hey, this is just a bad look for the league, and they pick and choose who they're going to use it on.
I feel like digging into. So it says he got suspended for 6 games and fined $500,000.
Yeah, he wasn't fined shit.
Yo, so get this, right? The motherfucker said, okay, this is what the headline says from one of the articles that I'm reading right now. It says, where does it say? Hold on. Jim Irsay arrested. Reports tell of cash, pills, and erratic driving. I don't know what. Like, I like if that's an NFL player, they're done, bro. Like they're at least done for a season. Like they're probably going to jail. Like I don't know how this works, man. But
well, that's not fair because like what's that sorry ass running back that's on the Broncos? What's his name? He used to be on the Chargers. His legs be breaking all the time. Melvin Gordon? Isn't he like just getting a little light slap for like DUI?
Yo, DUI is one thing. Did his DUI have come with 4 felony counts?
I don't know. Did it?
It didn't. No, it didn't. I'm saying, I will say this though. I'll never forget the fact that what's his name? Dante Stallworth got in a DUI accident and literally killed somebody. And they basically what did they do? Like
Dante Stallworth.
I don't even remember what they did. It was light though.
Yeah.
I think he got
he played the very next he got away with it. Like he got away with it.
Yo, it is the most ridiculous thing in the world. And I was like, everybody acts like he didn't get it. There was pled guilty to DUI manslaughter. Though he could have been sent to prison for 15 years, he was only sentenced to 30 days in jail. There it was. He was suspended for the 2009 season. So he was suspended for a whole season. But he came back, got picked up by the Patriots, Like, this
Well,
motherfucker.
it's the Patriots. The Patriots don't care. It could be, what's his name? Michael Floyd that played for Arizona. He had DUI issues. They dropped him and they were like, "You're black and you can catch." Well,
No, what I'm
shot.
saying is what I'm saying is the media never said anything about it. He played literally the rest of his career to where he played until he couldn't play no more. Nobody held it against him. Like, literally, it was one of those things that happened and nobody talked about. Everybody just act like, but mind you, the 2009 season that he was suspended in, he was on the Browns roster. I don't know if that means anything, but yeah, no, it's definitely one of those things where that didn't mean nothing. But damn, Randy Moss doing a fake moon after a touchdown celebration was news. Everybody was fucking mad at Randy Moss for that shit. Meanwhile, Dante Stolber was killing people with vehicles on DUIs. I don't know. It was crazy. It was crazy. It was crazy times.
This is why I don't fuck with the media. This is why I do not fuck with the media.
Yeah.
But here's another little tidbit that nobody heard in the media, but it magically went away, like, because I just decided to look it up. But former Kansas City Chiefs assistant coach Britt Reed pleads not guilty in crash. We didn't hear nothing about him pleading not guilty until now. And mind you, this was on June 7th. Like, how hasn't anyone heard about him pleading not guilty?
Yo, my question is he didn't. They never, the police department never arrested him.
They didn't charge him till April.
They didn't charge him, because me and Mark did a whole episode about that, how they just didn't charge him.
They didn't charge him till April. He was like, now mind you, that happened in February, the weekend before
the week before the Super Bowl. He was on the sideline for the Super Bowl.
So
bro.
I'm just going.
Meanwhile, you had a 4-year-old, 5-year-old
I'm going to read
in a fucking ICU in emergency room.
Yeah,
fighting for her life, yo.
I'm going to read you the first couple paragraphs from this ESPN article. Former Kansas City Chiefs assistant coach Britt Reed pleaded not guilty Monday to critically injuring young girl in the crash, but the judge allowed him to resume driving with restrictions. The judge modified his bond during his arraignment to allow him to have special interlock device installed that required him to pass a breathalyzer type test before his vehicle will start. Reed, the son of head coach Andy Reid, was charged with driving while intoxicated, causing serious physical injury in April, 2 months after he hit 2 cars on Interstate 435 entrance ramp near Arrowhead Stadium. The collision happened just days before the Chiefs played in the Super Bowl in Tampa Bay, Florida. One of the vehicles he hit had stalled because of a dead battery, and the second was owned by a cousin who had arrived to help, according to charging documents. A child in one of the cars, 5-year-old Ariel Young, suffered a traumatic brain injury. A Kansas City police officer reported that he could smell alcohol and that Reed's eyes were bloodshot and red, according to the documents. He was driving about 84 miles per hour shortly before the collision and had a blood alcohol level of 0.113 2 hours after the crash, police said. The legal limit is 0.08. Now, mind you, he had a blood alcohol level of 0.113 2 hours after the crash. That means
that's wild.
That means at the crash, that dude was probably rolling, bro. He's probably up at like 2. He's probably somewhere around like 0.2. And the legal limit is 0.08.
Yo, and I hate to be Debbie Downer, but I'm about to read. This is a report of her coming home from the hospital in April. It says she endured a traumatic brain injury for the rest of her life.
Mm-hmm.
She's a 5-year-old, but she's functioning like a baby.
Yep.
She can hear her mother's voice. She perks up when she hears it. She can see her mother, but other things she doesn't recognize. Yep. So that's the condition that she is in. And they They just don't care, man. They just don't care.
Like, can you imagine the audacity of a human being to plead not guilty? like, were you not driving the car? Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
What would make you plead not guilty?
But things like this is what makes me say that NFL is the absolute worst when it comes to American professional sports.
Well, now, mind you, at this point, this has very little to do with the NFL because Brett Reed is no longer employed by the NFL.
Oh, yes, okay. But I'm saying is the NFL didn't suspend him. They didn't take any action. Like if that was a player, this motherfucker would be done, right? They would have made a big deal about it. Everything would have been. The NFL would have took action. We've seen the NFL take action when the police department doesn't.
Right.
Right. So what I'm saying is, in this particular situation, the police department should have took action. So now you got that, but it's also the relationship that the team has with the city and with the police department.
Right.
That's what this is about.
Because he should have. There's no way that he doesn't get charged till April. That's nuts. That is insane.
But to be honest with you, at this point, it's already looking like a setup for him to get a slap on the wrist.
I'd be out the janitor's closet like fucking Samuel Jackson in Time to Kill. Yes, I'm dead, and I hope he burns in hell.
Hey, look, man, I'm saying, man, this shit is wild. Like, this shit is wild, man. Like, so yes, players are going to continually be treated differently than the executives and the staff. This is a perfect example of things not changing. NFL's been doing a lot of lip service, a lot of pandering, and a lot of pretending to care about certain things. But this is just more evidence that, what do they say? The more things change, the more they stay the same.
Yeah.
$10 million. Wow. I hope that goes to Jay-Z and his singing efforts to help the inner city youth.
Look, man, I don't know what to tell you. Ooh, man.
But yeah, man.
That's fucking wild.
Yeah, it's crazy and unfortunate. But let's end on a high note. The Cowboys do suck. They're terrible. Ricky, are you looking forward to this year's Hard Knocks with the Cowboys?
I don't really watch the Hard Knocks because I be watching anime, so not really.
That's funny.
Not really. If I'm being 100% honest, I didn't even watch last year's. I think the only Hard Knocks I saw was the Raiders one because Antonio Brown was acting the fool, so I kind of chimed in for that one. But it's not something I normally keep up with, so probably not.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I'll say this: Hard Knocks in general is always a good watch.
Yeah.
It definitely gives you a lot more behind the scenes and insight to how things work, and you get a lot better of an understanding of why things are the way they are. Is what I'll say. So it's always interesting, no matter what team it is or how trash they are.
Yeah. So. This one I won't be watching because I don't want to like any of these motherfuckers. So.
Damn, Mark, your hate runs deep, man. Let me tell you something.
Let me ask you this: are they going to have another season of All for Nothing? I have seen those on Amazon Prime. Those are pretty good. They had the one with the Eagles. They had one with what's Cam Newton's old team, the Panthers and stuff like that. Those are pretty entertaining.
Yeah, they can be. Yeah, I think they're going to have another season of All for Nothing.
Yeah. So
I might check that out.
But yeah, man, but no, because in Hard Knocks, there's always like a dude that you get to know him and you start liking him and shit.
Somebody that's out there working hard. They make the final cut. They make the practice squad. They get a little burn in preseason. I know what you talk about, Mark.
Yeah,
but
I don't
like somebody that's legitimately fighting for a spot and they get it or something.
Yeah, I don't want to feel that way about none of them. So no.
Doug, come on, man. He said I might fuck around and like one of y'all. That's it. I can't have that happen.
But Mark, what about us treating the players like they're humans?
I treat them like. Nah, man.
Yo.
That applies to everybody but a cowboy.
Oh man, that's terrible.
Like
Fair
yo,
enough. Fair enough.
Sean would tell you, like Zeke Elliott was one of my favorite players.
He's an Ohio State fan, so like, yeah,
Like he was one of my favorite players of all time. And the whole time he was in college, I was like, he's going to be amazing when he comes out. Blah 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 blah. The moment he was drafted by the Cowboys, I stopped talking about him ever. Never said another word about him.
Damn.
yeah. It sounds like he need therapy, don't it?
Yeah, I can't talk.
You can't talk.
I can't talk because this whole season I didn't watch basketball. I watched the Raptors to watch them lose. I watched every fucking game.
Oh, you let us know every time they lost too. You let us know.
So I can't talk. I can't talk.
Well, I guess. I can't say shit. I'm a Niners fan who hates the Cowboys from our old NFC rivalries and shit from back in the fucking late 80s, early 90s. So I can't say shit. I mean, I hate them just as much as Mark does. I mean, I won't allow it to stop me from watching. But then again, Mark, I'm watching to see the dysfunction. I'm watching to see the hope that they get. And then I'm going to watch the season to watch that fucking hope just die out. You know what I'm saying? My reason for watching it's very sinister. So yes, yeah, I'm definitely watching just so I can hate a little extra hard when they fail. So yeah, I guess I can't really say shit about you. You're taking the honorable route.
Yeah, I'm wearing my shit on my sleeve. Like, nah,
yeah.
I'm good.
I'm about to hit him with all kind of shit. Remember that time at Hard Knocks? Like, I'm about to hit him with all kind of shit this year. So,
but yeah, man, that's all we have for this episode. Thank you, Rick, for joining us. We greatly appreciate it, brother. I'm going to just leave you guys with this information here. The fewest winning seasons in the NFL since 2003 as follows. At number 32 is the Las Vegas Raiders. They have had one winning season since 2003. The Cleveland Browns, who have had two winning seasons since 2003. And tied for 28 at 4 is the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Detroit Lions. And there's one more team, Ricky. Can you guess who that team is that has only had 4 winning seasons since 2003?
I feel like this is a trick question, so I'm going to say the Washington football team?
No, incorrect. The Washington football team has had more winning seasons than this team. That team would be the San Francisco 49ers.
See, now here's what I will say.
Tied at 28.
So, Ricky, how do you
only
feel?
4.
Ricky, how do you feel about this? Mark calls me a bandwagon fan. He tells me that, I'm not really a real fan. And I'm like, yo, every time somebody says that, I bring up the 8-year stretch that we had post-TO before we actually started doing okay. And that shit gets dismissed. But now, all of a sudden, he wants to bring up those stretches now.
I never...
So I'm trying to figure out, am I a bandwagon fan or am I a real fan? Because I stayed through all of that shit, Mark. All of that shit. But that's fine.
We've had this discussion. It's based on your origins. Your origins is of a bandwagon.
You're an Ohio State fan. What's your origin?
I lived there.
When did you live there? Because your origin's Philly.
Yeah, I lived there.
You want to talk about when you lived there and how long you lived there, Mark?
Yes.
You want to do that?
Yes, we can talk about it.
Speak about it. Tell the world how long you lived there and how old you were when you lived there.
I spent my very formative high school years.
Very formative high school years. You didn't even spend all of your high school years there. Come on, Mark. Let's talk about it.
I spent my very formative high school years there. With people that I played football with and people that I knew had moved on and went to play for Ohio State.
Dog, first off, there's only 4 years of high school, Mark. How many years of those do you count as the formative years of high school? Because there's only 4 years there.
All four are formative. That's
so you spent 4. Did you spend 4 years there, Mark? I'm trying to understand. I'm just trying to give you. I'm just trying to get you to give me a straight answer. Of how many years you spent there? How many high school years have you spent in Ohio?
2.5.
Just long enough for you to hop on the bandwagon before it leaves the station. Look at that. It's fucking terrible, Mark.
Or just,
but just go ahead.
Hey, or just long enough for me to be able to call the town my home.
Whatever, but why are you a Philly fan?
Have you
He a Philly fan? So what? He a Philly fan and everything else.
So before you went to Ohio, what college football team did you fuck with then? Because obviously you were playing football before then and liked football, so I'm just curious.
I at that time legitimately at that time I didn't watch college sports as much, but I was supporting Penn State.
So you're a traitor.
Oh well,
it sounds like a switch sider to me.
Hey, listen.
It sounds like that's what it sounds
like. Listen. When you have sexual allegations go against you, I have the right to. I had the right to switch sides.
That was way after you became an Ohio State fan. We doing that? We doing that?
You're learning from Dan, what's that dude's name? Dan Snyders school or whatever? He's good. He's good.
Hey, this man stopped being a Penn State fan back in like 99, 2000, and now he want to bring up allegations and shit. Unless you knew something that nobody else knew at the time, Mark. I don't know, man. Like, look, all I'm saying is I have never switched any of my teams.
Hey, I'm gonna say this: you also never lived in San Francisco.
That's fine. So you lived there for a couple of years. Now you an Ohio State fan. I'm just trying to figure out why you ain't a Browns fan or why you ain't a Cleveland fan.
I didn't live in Cleveland.
I mean, why you ain't a Bengals fan? I'm trying to figure that out.
I didn't live in Cincinnati.
But you lived in that area. Look, first off, don't do that because I tell you I didn't live in D.C., but you don't care about that.
Yes,
so you lived in the area.
No, you lived in the DMV.
You lived in the area.
You lived in DMV. What the D stand for?
You're naming.
What does the D stand for in DMV?
You're naming 2 states.
Whole states. What is the
You're naming 2 whole states. Hey, Mark, I got a question for you because this is what we're gonna do. How many hours of a drive is it from where you lived in Ohio to the nearest major city with a football team?
3 hours.
So when I lived in Virginia Beach, 3 hours away from DC.
3 or 2.
Now you want to? Oh, don't change it. Don't change it.
No, I'm breaking it down. Like, because I'm really not sure. I think it's like 3 or 2.
So but I'm just saying, like, I lived 3 hours away from DC when I lived in Virginia Beach. But you telling me that I should have been a Washington fan? It sounds like you should have been either a fucking Browns fan or a Bengals fan, Mark.
You didn't live no 3 hours from no DC.
I want you to look up how long it takes for you to get from Virginia Beach to DC.
Listen,
that's what I want you to do. That's fine, Mark. You made the drive recently. You should know how long it takes.
Without traffic, no time.
This man can't even give you.
I'm
just trying. You know what I'm here for? I'm just here to point out the hypocrisy, dog. I'm just here to point out the hypocrisy. Go ahead.
I'm pointing out that you never lived in San Francisco.
Dog, you out here doing.
That's all.
You're out here doing slaloms around the Browns and the Bengals shit.
All I'm saying is you never lived in San Francisco.
All I'm saying is you can't just choose when you want to be from Ohio and choose when you want to be from Philly, Mark. That's what I'm saying. That's what it sounds like. It sounds like you just choosing. It sounds like you saw that Ohio State was a nice football team, and you maybe thought at that time they were better than Penn State, and you're like, maybe I'll just go with, I'll just go with the better team,
No.
He sensed the pervertness in the school, so he didn't become a fan. Don't forget that part.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He didn't, there was no allegations in Ohio State at the time, so he,
Yeah, Doug. I was like, nah, bro, can't be involved with what's going on in Penn State.
Actually, you know what? You know what, Mark? You may be on to something because you stopped fucking with Zeke when he went to the Cowboys and then he had allegations. So maybe you got a clairvoyance to see sexual allegations against players and teams. So,
hey, man.
That may be a thing.
He picked up on it before it happened or before it became public knowledge. Okay, that's what it is.
Yeah, that's what it is. I see it. I got you, Mark. I got you. Right, can you give me them lotto numbers?
Hey, man. I can tell you that the Bucks are going to win in 6 123 to what? What was the score again?
117, I think.
Yeah.
123, no, 123 to 118. It was 5 points.
Yep.
Yeah. It's somebody on
7
Twitter.
games.
Somebody on Twitter predicted that shit. It was 7 games. It was 7.
Yeah. Game 7. Yeah.
Yeah.
In 2014.
Yep.
2016, he predicted.
Oh, I thought it was 14. You may be correct.
It was 5 years. I remember because me and Mark had a whole conversation about this shit.
So yeah.
Yeah, that motherfucker has a time machine. I mean, that was like the most logical explanation. He has a time machine.
Yeah, he has the sports almanac.
Because it couldn't have been like foresight. Because if you look at those rosters and you look at those teams in 2016, I don't care how much promise you thought they had. You know what I'm saying? You could have predicted that. Like, yeah. You could have.
You're not lying. You are not
That
lying.
motherfucker got a time machine. We about to find out though.
Yeah.
Before we go, I do have an important question for you guys. Who's you guys' first running back you're picking in the fantasy league? I'm just curious. So are the fans. It's more for their research than mine. I'm confident in what I'm going to be picking. But what would you guys be picking hypothetically? You're on the clock at, let's just say, pick 4 and pick 6.
4 and 6.
Motherfucker, Ricky already got the draft order right now. This motherfucker said if you were around 4 or 6, I don't know. Let's say Mark's at 4 and you're at 6, Shawn. You guys, this motherfucker Ricky, man.
I'm just curious, He's good.
Well, I'm gonna let you know. I would be picking Derrick Henry. If he's available at 4 or 6.
After how he did you last year, you going back to him?
Yeah, no coach. He didn't do it. It was the team that did it. He didn't do it. He didn't say,
That's
yo.
fair.
He didn't say, yo, we going to practice when they told us to shut it down. So.
Yeah, he did. He also didn't say, you know what, only give me 18 touches today. He
Exactly.
didn't say that himself, I'm sure. But I will say this. See, Mark is that type of guy. He likes the guy that is going to be physically dominant on the field because that means it doesn't matter the matchup. You have a certain level of expectation with that. Like he's going to get his numbers. It don't matter who he's playing with. So, but for me, I don't want the physically dominated guy. I want the guy that's going to get the receptions and the touches on the ground. But preferably somebody that won't be hurt, but I'll take somebody that's hurt. I don't care. So, I mean, if I'm at that position, I'll probably be looking at somebody like Dalvin Cook.
I also said Derrick Henry because I 100% doubt that he'd be available at 4. So,
yeah, like Dalvin Cook might be available for me at those positions.
Well, not now, but he would have been.
I mean, that's fine. You know what I'm saying? There's more than just Dalvin Cook out there, Ricky looked like an Alvin Kamara. He looked like an Alvin Kamara guy, you know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna let you guys in a secret. I already have my whole team mapped out. I had it mapped out since we lost from last year. It's literally mapped out and done. I know how to get my team how I want it, no matter what position I'm at. I have teams for each position already.
Dog,
I've been mock drafting since January.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you right now. Ricky. I'm about to go in front of you. I got a secret strategy that I picked up from one of my fantasy football groups. I've been an active member in a Superflex Dynasty Fantasy Football League Facebook group. And there definitely is a strategy that I've seen tossed around a few times that I'm actually going to implement this year if I fall to a lower pick in a draft. So,
as you know, Shawn, that's all well and good as long as you don't pick near me.
Mark is kind of a fucking thorn in my side. Every time we fucking get into a goddamn draft, it's like no matter what, if he's not picking right before me or right after me, he'll be like 2 picks before me or 2 picks after me. He's always right fucking there, man. I promise you, man. And it's the most annoying thing in the world. Yeah. So yes, as long as Mark is not picking anywhere near me, I'll be able to get the people I want.
My drafting strategy is always based on everybody else's personality. So, like for the most part.
You're gonna have a hard. You must have a hard time picking with me. Because I don't really have a personality. I just
Yeah,
pick
well,
some
we
shit.
know one thing: you gonna take some Seahawks. I know that.
That's not true because last time I didn't take any Seahawks.
It's not true. He like his last draft really threw me for a loop. But what was interesting was that whenever I'm up against Shawn, I against anyone that's before or after me, they should always know that I draft defensively. I draft in like, what do I want to make sure you don't get?
Yes, that is facts.
So
and it's funny because I just know Mark thinks like me. So if I draft before him, to be honest with you, I'm just gonna pick who I want, and then I'm just gonna watch Mark's face afterwards, be like, "Yo, I was looking in that direction. Yeah, it is what it is, dog. I got him."
But it's snakes. So when it comes back, I'll be like, I know who you going to try to get next.
That is also facts. So that's why I don't like fucking with Mark. I just want Mark to be at least 3 or 4 picks away from that. That's all I want.
But yeah, man, it's gonna be interesting. I already have. I don't know if you saw it, Ricky, but I already have a bet in place in our league with Darius.
Indie Animals.
Yep.
Dog, that is such a filthy name to attach to your team. Especially when you know what it means and where it came from, and knowing the type of person that Darius is, dog, that's just going to eat at him. Mark, I'm with you. I hope y'all play in the first week, dog. I hope y'all play in the first week. I hope y'all play in the first week and you win.
I'm gonna let you guys in on a secret. You guys are playing week 1, and then he's playing Rodney week 2 because these guys made bets, and I want to see Darius be an animal.
Ricky said, "I will adjust this shit however I need to adjust it." Like, because Mark was like, "I want to see him hold this name for the whole season, bro." I'm like, please let.
I want to see him as an indie animal with a Nas picture for his profile. People hate to look at his team every day.
He might quit. He might not even set his lineup a couple weeks. Like, dog, I can't do this. I can't even look at this shit.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's gonna be.
I'm not gonna lie. Whenever I play him, I'm changing my team name today. Don't let the GDs through the door.
Stop it. Hey, Ricky said he changes his name every week like he did last year.
Yo, like my inspiration for that bet was literally I was just scrolling through Facebook and like that, and that showed up. It said never forget. And then that video showed up. The Indie Animals video showed up. And I was like, yeah, that's it. I got a bet for this nigga right there.
Yeah, nah, man. The Indie Animals was definitely a big topic in 754 minute though. So yeah, he's he knew as soon as you said that shit, he was like, oh, okay. Yeah,
but
I got in this game.
Real quick, before we go, I want to show you guys something.
What's up?
Look at this.
What, the calories on that ice cream? What the hell are you doing?
No, I want to show you the ice cream. Get the light out of there. There we go. So this is Ben & Jerry's, and yes, you see that correct. That
is Colin Kaepernick on that motherfucker.
And it says, I know my rights, right there.
Does it say change the world? Like, as in like a world?
Yes. And it says 9 dairy. Well, but what the funny thing about this is, I want to read off the flavor to you, and tell me. I'm
about to get upset.
Tell me if this
Go ahead.
Tell me if this shit is too on the nose. It says caramel with fudge chips, graham cracker swirls, and chocolate cookie swirls.
I can't. There's no way he signed off on this. That's what I'm gonna say. There's no way he signed off on this shit, man. He didn't know they was gonna put that on there.
Good. Why would you a Colin Kaepernick draw? And they was like,
this motherfucker's a s'more.
And they was like,
they kept saying swirl. They want you to know this motherfucker is not fully black.
Exactly.
Graham cracker, swirl this, swirl that,
caramel.
Like, goddamn, caramel, like.
It said caramel with a little bit of fudge. So
come on, man. Come on, man. Like, there's no way. Mark, I'm gonna tell you this, man. There's no way he signed off on this shit. Like, I don't know who did this shit. Maybe he just told his PR team, was like, yo, we got a Ben and Jerry's deal on the table. All right, cool. Do I need to do anything for it? He's like, nah, don't worry about it. We got it. Like, there's no way. There's no way he saw this shit.
Dog, this shit is hilarious.
I'm not gonna lie, Mark. Now I gotta go find that shit.
I bought it simply because I was like, oh shit, what? It's like Colin Kaepernick. Like, and then when I read the flavors, I was like, this is insane. Like, I was like, so the immediate first thing you think of when you say Colin Kaepernick is caramel. Like yo,
with a little bit of fudge. Look, man, I didn't want to take it there. It sounds crazy to me. There's no way. There's no way I'm signing off on this.
And then they're gonna go graham cracker with some chocolate cookie swirls. Like, so, like, how many different ways can you say, hey, I'm mixed race?
There's a lot of innuendo in those flavors, dog. Like,
so much. Like, so many innuendos in its flavors.
What the fuck is going through your mind right now, Ricky?
Like, I don't know if you guys noticed, for the past couple of months, I've been getting my mental health good, and I've been keeping away from cancel culture. So the things that's in my head, I'm going to keep them in there. So
you said I'm not trying to get canceled today. Nope, y'all not going to get me today.
That shit sounds to the moon. Like, I'm not doing it.
Right, Ricky said, don't ask me what I think. Hey, man, I'm off that.
What I think doesn't matter. The more important thing is Ben and Jerry's fucks with, like, civil rights and Colin Kaepernick. So go Ben and Jerry. You swirly motherfuckers. You swirly motherfuckers.
Hey, Ricky said he's sober. He's been sober for months. Y'all trying to knock him off the wagon and shit.
Yeah, man.
I'm trying my best. I'm trying my best. These motherfuckers had me because I was about to say some shit.
That little bit of fun.
You ever see that meme of Shawn King and T.I. and there's like when you swirl the Nestle Quick? I was thinking shit like that.
That shit was hilarious, dog. I saw that shit, bro. I saw one that had 40 different names that you could call Shawn King. And it was everything from Talcum X to like they had a bunch of different joints. I don't even know if I should say them joints on air, but let's just say that it was hilarious. It was the most hilarious shit that I saw that day.
Yeah.
Colin Kaepernick, brother, what the fuck were you thinking?
Like,
they called you caramel with a little bit of fudge and a graham cracker.
This is terrible, man.
Boy.
They really don't give a shit, huh?
Apparently. And it's apparently.
They really don't. They're like, whatever, man. Let's just put this shit out.
But this shit is crazy. But with that, I think we're going to go ahead and sign off from you people and give you guys a good night. So,
you people.
Yeah, the
here
crowd,
we go, man. Hey,
crowd.
Stay off it, Ricky. Stay off it.
The crowd.
You're right. I did good. I did good
right now. Stay off it.
So, yeah. So, you know what I'm saying? That the usual is always there. You know what I mean? If you mess with us, we mess with y'all. So please mess with us so we can mess with y'all. That means link, like, subscribe to all our stuff. You know what I mean? And don't forget Small World Artistry. Pick up your eye test merch there. We already got people out there with the eye test hoodies, a few people with t-shirts. Grab you a t-shirt. The t-shirts are high quality, and you know we always got the dope logos. So hit us up. Now we have 2 logos for the eye test. And with that, go ahead and get your shit off, Ricky. One more time for the good time.
Oh yeah. If you want to hear anything and everything about hip hop, fuck with the wait till you hear this podcast. Shout out to Damon Darius. If you want to hear about a motherfucker having a midlife crisis and dealing with PTSD from things in his life, I do that daily for 10 minutes on Venting to the Mic. And if you like anime and hip hop, you can turn into the Bar Hat podcast where we talk anime and battle rap.
Yeah.
How those two connect? Find out on the next episode of Dragon Ball Me. So yeah, tune in. I don't know.
All right. And one more thing to add to this. We just started a new sports talk Facebook group for you guys to join. Please come in and engage with us and everybody else is that's part of our community. TET Sports Talk. That's you can look us up. TET Sports Talk on Facebook.
Well, you can't talk to me just yet because I'm still doing I have 3 more D's left on my bid for Colin.
Hey, yeah, Mark doing a hard time. You know what I'm saying? So
I'm doing the Facebook bid right now for calling Patrick Beverly a hoe. So